The Dakar moves from Mauritania over into Senegal, and some of the crews had to take a ferry. Portuguese Bernardo Villa wins his first ever stage on the Dakar. Whilst in the car section, Gregoire de Mavius was sliding his way to a victory there. Well, once more, the Dakar had some tempestuous weather conditions yesterday. We come to the middle of the desert. They have about 3 days worth of rain a year, and we have had about those 3 in the last 3 days. Starting at Tachit, we had a couple of days there, and then also at Kiffa last night there was a further cloud burst there. Didn't stop the trucks though. They were as best as anyone to cope with the conditions. However, Carol Laprace in his Tatra was running into all sorts of trouble, which started with a front left puncture and continued into bigger and worse things. And as you can see, there were also problems for Belgian Gregoire de Mavius. He ran out of fuel. The fuel gauge was reading incorrectly, and he could only ask Saeed Al-Hajri if he had a little spare petrol.
Are you relaxed in your classification? Sorry? Are you relaxed in your... Can you pull us? No, that's not the time to say why. There's no more fuel. Someone will come and open. We have enough of problems. You've got plenty of time behind. Plenty of time behind.
So as Saeed Al-Hajri left, Jordi Arcarons arrives on the scene, and Gregoire says, have you got any petrol? Jordi, former winner of the Dakar, gets off the bike and looks into the clear aperture on the side of one of the fuel tanks, and he says, yeah, I've got about 25 litres. And Gregoire says, can you give me 10 litres? Now, Gregoire de Mavius' co-driver Alain Gouneg in the background there, soon dispensing a little bit of KTM petrol into the Nissan fuel tank. Gregoire asking Jordi his number because Gregoire didn't quite see his number when he was arriving. What was the? What did you think Jordi thought of that? Gregoire says, super. Many times I've stopped for bikers, and it proves that there is a solidarity between us cars and the motorcyclists. When I stopped him, I didn't realise his number, but I do now. So then, Jordi Arcarons giving a sporting favour for Gregoire de Mavius, and soon Gregoire was on his way. He continued through the slightly damp dunes, but soon those 10 litres ran out once more. However, there was another saving grace, as soon the sun was setting over the horizon. Laurent Bourgnon stopping, Gregoire once more asking, have you got any petrol? Bourgnon saying, well, Gregoire, this will cost you a couple of beers. Alain Gouneg utilising their drinks bottle, and Gregoire joking, I'll see you at the bar for that beer then. Puts it into gear, and still with the fuel injection system a little starved of petrol, the V6 coughs and splutters its way all the way to the finish. Once the crews got to the bivouac at Kiffa in the middle of the afternoon yesterday, they were soon on the road after just a little sleep. The first motorcyclist was on his way at 10 o'clock last night, in the middle of the night for a long road section before the start of the stage early this morning. Kenjiro Shinozuka was struggling yesterday with his stiff neck and his injured ribs after he hit a tump of camel grass about a week ago, whilst for many of the other competitors in the middle of the stage, it was very heavy going. At the stop line at the end of the stage, Johannes de Rooij arrives safely, and he gets his time card stamped. For other riders, it was a night and then a day of torture. Sleep deprivation is a real killer when you're into competition on motorcycles and in cars and trucks. And then when you lose your goggles in the mud and in the rain, and then you have a mechanical problem, it just seems as though life can get no worse. And then one of the motorcycles decides to catch light. That's all you need. Francois Regis in all sorts of trouble, whilst Carol Laprace's mechanical problems got even worse. He sought refuge in the back of the truck. So then, today's stage from Kiffa down to Dakar itself, the penultimate stage of the rally, and over from Mauritania into Senegal. That long road section, look at it, 450 kilometres, slightly to the northwest, and then getting into the stage itself of just over 100 miles, that's 165 kilometres in length. And then a further long road section down to Dakar. And the further west we go and the closer towards the Atlantic Ocean we get, the greener Africa is. The wildlife gets more and more vibrant as well. Early morning, though, at the start line after that long liaison. Esteve Puyol and Jordi Arcarons catching up with each other after the muddy conditions. But for others, they hardly had time for a chat, just a little bit of breakfast, a welcome bit of energy. Eric Bernard saying, I was afraid of this stage because of the animals on the road, but in the end it was a very nice stage, and we stopped to drink a coffee en route many a time.
This is the most crazy race. It's crazy. And I fall to sleep many times on the road, and I had to stop and sit down for 5 minutes and wait and go 20 kilometers and sit down and wait and go. I was so tired.
And even for the overall leader of the Paris-Dakar rally, Fabrizio Mioni looks at his watch in disbelief and realises that he has to stir himself from his slumber. On the Dakar, there is no pride, even if you are a Works KTM rider or anybody else. You have to grab your sleep when you can. Soon then, into the stage. It was go for everybody. And the man who was fastest through the stage, Bernardo Villa, from Portugal on his KTM single-cylinder machine, the number 14 rider blasting through and winning it by some 33 seconds in only an hour and 43 minutes. His maiden Paris-Dakar win and a welcome bit of relief. Now, amazingly, he's in 14th position in the overall standings, exactly on the same time as Dutchman Eric Verhoef. So there'll be a lot to fight for tomorrow in the en masse start on the beach before the final 31 kilometres at Lac Rose. However, it's not over until the fat lady sings. This was only 3 kilometres into the stage. Esteve Puyol missing a hole in the road and going head over heels and over the motorcycle. Giovanni Sala, his KTM teammate, was first on the scene, moving the motorcycle away from Esteve. And Esteve being asked by the doctor here, are your hands okay? Are your feet okay? He seems pretty compass. And many of the riders saying that the big hole in the road was at the 3 kilometre mark, even though it was marked at the 2 kilometre mark, so it caught many, many people out. Giovanni Sala, though, blasted back from having stopped to assist his teammate, and he was second on the stage, whilst Richard Sankt and he went side by side with Fabrizio Mioni, finishing 5th on the stage, Sankt finishing 3rd on the stage. Richard Sankt and Fabrizio Mioni continued through the green and verdant lands and over the puddles as well, but soon they were their own worst enemies and they got lost. Left or right, forwards or backwards, it can happen to the world's best. Navigation, once more, an essential part of the Dakar Rally. It's not a question of how much power you've got or how fast you go, you've got to use your head. Alfie Cox, though, he finished today's stage in 8th position, but he has confirmed his 2nd position in the overall rankings, even if he did have to ask our cameraman which way it was. Alfie said that he took the day very easy, and he likened it to riding through the game park. Richard Sankt, 3rd overall, making it a Gauloise 2 and 3 in the overall. Whilst Carlos de Gavado struggling with his injured left thumb and his injured left foot. He struggled through the stage, but he continues in 4th overall. Eric Bernard, 8th in the overall standings, while Paul Anders Olivelasta is 9th overall, the Norwegian having a brilliant Dakar rally. Paulo Marques from Portugal, the best Portuguese in the overall rankings. He's 10th overall, whilst Pierre Quinareno, the winner of the opening stage of the rally, is in 11th. So today's results, that is the marathon stage. Mioni, the combined winner, ahead of Richard Sankt. Cox, 3rd in the combined standings. But overall, it's Mioni from Cox, Sankt up to 3rd, De Gavado now 4th, and Esteve Puyol holds 5th. Bernardo Villa saying, someone has just told me that I've won the stage, and I just don't believe it. For me, it's absolutely fabulous. I didn't think that it was possible. I'm really happy. It's marvellous, incredible. It's really wonderful to win a stage of the Dakar.
É magnífico, é uma maravilha. Era tudo o que me faltava, era ganhar uma etapa no Dakar.
Veramente difficile perché
Mioni saying at the end of the stage there was a dry lake, but it was full of water, and to find an ideal route out of it was very hard. I was behind Richard, and with him there were no navigational problems. He is very good. I felt as if I have been concentrating very hard today, and I feel okay.
Perché oramai potevo soltanto combinare qualche cavolata e quindi sono stato tranquillo e a posto, tutto è andato per il verso giusto. Ancora abbiamo un po' di chilometri fino a Dakar, però il grosso è fatto.
I think it's only the liaison and Lake Rose tomorrow, you know, and it's been a very tough 5 days, the last 5 days, and I think it was something that I wanted to do, come on the podium, and you know, yesterday unfortunately with Roma, and I have to take the 2nd place. I cannot tell you how happy I am, and things are looking good.
And how was it today?
Yeah, today was a very nice, like riding through the game park. Very nice. We've been going along with Utah, changing like this, but very easy.
There are many other things going on in the Dakar that you may never see, so we're going to let you in on little secrets. These are some of the jets that move the enormous amount of equipment every day from bivouac to bivouac. The air traffic control guiding the aeroplanes in, whilst the quad bikes are used for everything, including injured riders. The Antonovs with their engines high up, specialist in short landing and takeoff, whilst the press office has full air conditioning, literally. The telecommunications keep us in touch with the rest of the outside world as we spread ourselves out. However, When the weather is fine, it's wonderful, but when the weather turns the other way, as it did in Chit a couple of days ago, it really can be hell on an aeroplane wing. And we even had to move our Hercules C-130, in which we do all of our editing for the TV programme. And in there we also service the equipment and get all of the videotapes up to date for the many TV stations who take the Dakar footage the world over. Right then, onto the car section. A relatively quiet stage today compared with last year, but then anything is quiet compared to last year with all of the dramas between Schlesser and Masuoka. Demavius wins the stage in his Nissan Crew Cab, the V6 engine slinging its way through the short stage. Although he encountered all sorts of slippery mud along the way, but he drove through it at an unabated speed, even though he had a cracked windscreen to distract him. The Belgian has won stages in France, Morocco, now Mauritania, the only person to do so in the entire rally this year. And after the problems he had yesterday, he's very happy to win the stage by over 3 minutes. Overall, though, he's well down the order after taking large time penalties earlier in the event. To Black Africa we go, but Jutta Kleinschmidt didn't have much time to enjoy the view. She was flying through the first part of the stage. She was well up during the first part, including having to find her way through the deep ruts, through the tracks, and passing South African Alfie Cox. He couldn't believe it as he looked to his right and saw the flying German. Just had a quick check over his shoulder to make sure there was no one else coming up behind him. However, Jutta Kleinschmidt, she got lost not far from the finish, finding herself on the wrong side of a river momentarily. And she may have made some good navigation earlier in the rally with Andreas Schultz calling the notes, but today, not a great day. She was losing her advantage that she had earlier in the stage, and she lost some 7 minutes to finish down in 4th position on the stage overall. However, she keeps her 2nd position in the overall rankings, the German not quite being able to topple the 2 Japanese. Kenjiro Shinazuka first through our shots, and then the leader of the Dakar overall, Hiroshi Masuoka, with Pascal Maimon alongside him. The Japanese armada continued through the dust and through the mud. Kenjiro Shinazuka clinching 3rd position on the stage, but Hiroshi Masuoka going one better in 2nd. Overall, though, Masuoka continues to lead by some 22 minutes ahead of Jutta Kleinschmidt. Shinazuka in 3rd. He's some 37 minutes behind. It's a muddy day for everybody, including Luc Alphonse.
On a le pont avant cassé,
On
donc on s'est
board
arrêté et
with
démonté
the former ski downhill champion. He says we've broken our front diff, so we stopped to disconnect the prop shaft in order to try and save the strain being put through that front diff. But I can tell you that on the last day of the real rally, this is really bad luck for us. There's a lot of mud coming through into the car, and I'm covered in it. It's brown everywhere.
Et je me fais repeindre, et voilà, on est plein de boue. Je sais pas, en plus, t'as
Look
des
at it,
trucs de
I'm
l'intérieur,
covered
la
everywhere.
caméra, ben voilà.
Me and my co-driver.
Ah là, on le voit parfaitement.
Ouais, et ben voilà, tu vois, ça pleut par les
He says I'm happy for my friend Arnaud alongside me. He was good through the rally, we made no mistakes. And we made good navigation as well.
Je suis content du boulot d'Arnaud, c'est super. Bon, on se connaît bien, on s'engueule souvent aussi. Non, bon, mais bon, il s'est pas gaufré en navigation. On a été bon tout le rallye. là-dessus au moins.
Mechanically, though, he
Et
says,
puis
we think that we've got the best from the car. We've never had any major problems,
pas de soucis
and I can
majeurs.
only hope
Je
that
pense
it'll
qu'on
be
est
okay
pratiquement au maximum
now,
du
although anything
potentiel
still
de la
can
voiture,
happen.
quoi. Devant nous, si on finit, parce que là, je crois que toutes les secondes, j'ai l'impression qu'il y a un bout qui va tomber.
Well, I'm happy to report that Luc Alphon did get to the end of the stage, even though it was in 27th position. Carlos Souza hoping to back up the brilliant result in the motorcycle section from fellow countryman Villa. Was not quite able to do so in his Mitsubishi, but he did finish 5th on the stage, and he's in 5th in the overall standings. Qatar's Saeed Al-Hajri in his first ever Dakar is the highest rookie in the car section. He was 6th on the stage, and likewise he holds 6th overall. 14th overall is Toshi Asaga in his Toyota Land Cruiser, backing up the strength of the Japanese in this year's Dakar, whilst Clever Kohlberg, he was 7th on the stage today, and he holds 8th overall. Jutta Kleinschmidt therefore winning the combined stage of today and yesterday ahead of Shinazuka, Masuoka, Fontenay and Souza. Masuoka, though, has that lead overall by 22 minutes ahead of Jutta Kleinschmidt, Shinazuka 3rd, Fontenay and Souza. Hiroshi Masuoka here saying that I've been very happy with my driving over this penultimate stage today. There were a lot of very good tracks, which made a very good stage in total. Tomorrow, I may win the Dakar after 15 times as a competitor in it. Jutta Kleinschmidt saying at the end of the stage it was difficult to cross the dry lake because it was so soft. The roadbook said that we would just find a good way out of it, nothing else, but we happily did it. Shinazuka saying the fight with Jutta did not really happen over the last 2 days because I had 2 punctures, and as the gap was there, I could not hope for anything else. Then today it was not necessary to fight anymore. We just appreciated the driving experience. The penultimate day then for the trucks. Vladimir Chigin finished 2nd today in his Kamaz. In the overall standings, though, he continues to lead by some 4 hours and 15 minutes. All he has to do is coast it through the final 31 kilometres tomorrow, and he'll be the winner. Carol Laprace holds 2nd in the overall rankings, whilst Yoshimasa Sugawara and Matsumoto and Suzuki alongside him, they hold 3rd in the overall rankings in their Hino Ranger. They had a pretty steady day today and took it relatively easily, and they got through the stage in 6th position. And as you can see, a little more green and verdant lands approach. This is Laprace, 3rd on the stage, 2nd overall. Whilst Johan Peter Reif, with Gunther Pickelbauer and Lee Palmer alongside him, they hold 4th in the overall standings. So then tomorrow is the final stage of the Dakar, the last looping stage around Lac Rose, the Pink Lake, when all of the bikes start en masse for the final thrash of 31 kilometres, including the flat-out blast of 11 kilometres along the beach before turning into the dunes. The final kilometre of 9,319 will be completed. We look forward to your company on a historic day.